Coreyemmah here.
Hi, it's Zorana.
And we have another lovely video about astrology for you, as it is every third Wednesday in a month so far. And today we will talk with Zorana about transits. So what are transits in general? What it is actually?
Okay, so as we know, natal chart is not static, but it is like a moment frozen at the time of our birth. So at the time of our birth, planets were at certain points in the sky, and you can imagine like when you are born, they're like frozen. That's your ID. That's your astrological ID. But as you grow old, the planets are still moving. So with or without us, the planets and the cosmic motion is always moving. Transits is these movements of the planets after our birth that are affecting our natal chart. They are still affecting us. So the natal chart is one moment frozen, reflecting on us when we were born, what was the situation on the sky. Transits are everything after that. So if your natal chart is, you can imagine it, like a circle, natal chart, and you know where your sun is, where your moon is, where your Saturn is, that's always fixed for you. So they remain where they are. But the transit means that the planets in the sky actually move. So they move, and after a certain point, they can come where they were before. That's called return, like Saturn return. It means that Saturn, after 27 or 28 years, it comes back at the point where it was at the time of your birth. That's return. He made a full circle around your chart and came back at the start. So planets do this walk around your chart, walk through the houses, and they affect the house which they are walking through, or the planet with which they are making an aspect.
Okay, so is it for every one of us, like if each of us had our natal chart as a starting point, and that means us, but all the planets from that starting point are running in the circles and are like touching our planets over and over, even though it's different for each of us. Yeah. And how important are then these transits when they touch our chart in some way? What happens then?
Well, they are extremely important. So if you imagine your natal chart is holding some sort of theme of your life, some sort of story. So the transits are activating this story. So they are, when they touch important point in your chart, like your ascendant or the sun or any of the planets, it's like they are triggering that point. They're triggering that planet, they're setting something into motion. So the transit can bring you actual events. So if it's important transit for you, it is literally setting your planets into it. It is activating it. There was a quote that I told you about. It's like, if your natal chart is a story, transit will give you a new chapter. Every time it comes, it will bring a new chapter to your story, because it's like developing. You're starting with your natal chart, but transits are bringing you opportunities to develop, to get on a new level, let's say.
And so they only, like the stars and the planets, are only affecting us when they basically have some kind of transit with our chart. So when somebody writes down, oh, Mercury is retrograde, does it have to necessarily affect everyone? Because each of us has different charts. So like for some people, the Mercury retrograde will be in some transit, but for some of us will not.
Yes, so some of us will feel it. Yeah, some of us will feel it more dramatically, and some of us will feel it on just general sort of way. So it's for example, difference between you being stuck in a traffic because lights are not working and you're very annoyed and you're stressed about it, but you'll survive, and between your car getting, breakdown in the middle of a journey. That's a big problem. So for some people, it can be just, annoying everyday things. For other people, it can be really big stuff happening to them. So that's a difference if Mercury retrograde or any other planet is is triggering a major point for you, or is it just, passing by? You will feel it, but the difference is in the level of how you will feel it. If it will be important or not so important.
Yeah, in the intensity of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How will we actually find out or how can we see the transits? How will we find out that there's some transiting planet on us?
Well, you can ask an astrologer, or or you can look it up yourself. So there is many programs on the internet where you can find what is the current position of the planets. And then when you have your natal chart, you basically can just draw where the planets currently are and see how are they affecting you, which house they're in. Are they sitting on top of some planet? Are they making a square or a trine with any other planets? Are they close to angles or anything like that? So you can look it up on the internet and you can just compare it to your natal chart to see where is Saturn now is in Capricorn. So where is your natal Saturn? Do you have any planets in Capricorn? Which house is the Capricorn in your chart? That means Saturn is now walking through that house, is bringing something to that house. What do you have there? That's how we compare it.
Yeah, that's great. How I am doing it is that I basically use like a Googling the partner chart, and I basically Google the chart of mine, like my natal chart with the current date, like if the current date was my partner, basically.
Oh, yeah, you can do it like that. So you will have the planets outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
And
good.
then the program usually shows all the transits, those that are mine and those that are the day and what they are doing together. So then there's like a huge mixture to play with. So definitely not a daily activity for me, but yeah, that way I believe that it is okay to try it as well if the person already knows a bit about astrology and all the symbols, of course, and all the aspects, how they basically work. Are there some planets that are slightly more important in moving through the sky, or more significant? Are they making like bigger difference than others?
Yes, so we're taking outer planets as very important transits for the simple reason because they last so long. So, like a moon or Mercury, they're very fast planets. They're making circles all the time, so we're not feeling it as dramatically and deeply as with, for example, Saturn or Uranus or Pluto, because they are moving so slowly and they're making real deep impact on us. For example, Saturn spends 2.5 years in one sign, and it's so for him to make a full circle, and because it can go retrograde as well, it can take more time. It can take roughly 27, 28, or 29 years until he comes back and you have your first Saturn return. So 28 years for him to go through all of your houses, to visit them all, to touch all the planets, to lay some groundwork, some structure. And then after your first Saturn return, he's going again. And every time he's passing through a house, he's basically testing the affairs of that house. So you can look at Saturn transit. Which house is he, let's say, walking through? And that is the house where you have to work on the structure, where you have to gain some sort of mastery over the subject of that house. You have to work on that. You have to take responsibility for what is happening in that area in your life. You have to face your fears. Saturn is about fears, boundaries. So everything like that, you look at the house, what the house symbolizes, what do you have inside, and when the Saturn is transiting, this is let's say your task.
Yeah, like a topic for that, let's say 2.5 years when the Saturn is in that 30 degrees.
And let's say, you can have like 2 signs in a house, so it will be different, but he's now in Capricorn. He entered, I think, in December 2017. So he will be there for another year. Yeah, but you can have like 2 signs in a house, or but you will see. You will see. You can check the transit. You can see where it falls, which house is it exactly, and you know, okay, he will be here at least a year more. So this is what I need to do.
Yeah, we were talking about Saturn and also about Pluto. That is one of the slow outer planets as well. In another of our video, in the challenging planets video. So I will definitely put a link into the top of the video, so guys can check that out as well for more information on the Saturn. And so the Saturn is usually in one house for 2.5 years, is it? And then it takes 27-ish, 28 years
Yes.
to go through the whole.
Because Saturn can go retrograde and then it takes him more time. You know, he goes back, then he goes again the direct, and that is approximately how much it takes to make a full circle. Jupiter, on another hand, he spends around 1 year in one sign. So it takes him like 12 years to go around.
So he's twice faster actually than Saturn.
When Jupiter is walking through your houses or through the signs, he expands everything. He's like a magnifying glass for that house. So where he is in the chart, I mean in the transit, when he's going around your houses, which house he's passing through, he will take everything and make it bigger, more dramatic. If it's a good thing, he will multiply good things. If it's a bad thing, if it's a problem, he will make it big, dramatic. He will pull it, you know, out, and it will just be very visible. It will be, you know, it will make.
Yeah, so sorry. So when Jupiter and Saturn are together, triggering some topic in our chart, then it can be like really challenging.
Yes, because you will have Jupiter who expands and Saturn who restricts, and he's, you know, Saturn is trying to restrict, to make boundaries, to put you in a box, to give you structure, to give you some limits. Where Jupiter, he's very, you know, going over your limits, you know, going over your limits. That's Jupiter.
Yeah. And also like getting some new opportunities and stuff. If the Saturn would be like, if we would be in the situation with Saturn and Jupiter together, would it be like that Saturn would be testing us where we have the boundaries, and Jupiter would help us to, let's say, cross the comfort zone? That Saturn would be like, just finish this topic, finish this block, go through it, and when you go through it, Jupiter will help you to.
Okay, Jupiter usually gives us hope and optimism. He gives us the push that you need to get through with something. So that's true. He's not really daring planet. So crossing your limits, going outside of your comfort zone, that would be more like Uranus. You know, breaking the mold. Yeah. And Jupiter is more like giving you faith, giving you hope, giving you some sort of inner motivation to go to, you know, some sort of inner energy. He's like a friend, you know, patting your back. You can do this, you can do this. That's kind of, you know, energy of Jupiter. That's why he's like making everything go, you know, bigger. And he's a planet of optimism and morality and philosophy and all these, let's say, nice things.
Yeah.
Saturn is about, you know, testing the structure.
Yeah, and we go through the Saturn circle, so let's say about 3 times, max 4 times in the life.
Yeah.
Is it? And when we get this circle done, like, can we take it as some time when we can like start over, or like, you know, is there something very important? Because in that moment, I guess that Saturn, or not that I guess, I believe, based on logic, that when the Saturn finishes the circle, he's in conjunction with our Saturn as we were born. So like that moment, what's happening? Like, what does it mean?
It means that we're growing up.
Yeah.
He's forcing you to grow up. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting. So then basically based on the Saturn, we are getting like to another stage of life in age like 27, 28, not at 18-ish as it is by the law.
Yeah.
That's actually quite cool.
Let's say the first Saturn return is literally everywhere in all areas of your life is teaching you about structure. And first circle is finished. Let's say you're a new adult, you're a new grown-up person then. Second circle, he's visiting and he's testing everything. Is this good? Do you need to work more? Blah, blah, blah. You know, so another 28 years is basically testing how good you are at being adult person, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's quite interesting, quite cool. And what about? Sorry.
Yeah, you can.
I think that the connection just got a bit bumpy. Yeah. So what about the Uranus that we just talked about really briefly?
Yes. So Uranus goes behind Saturn. It takes him around 7 years to spend in one sign. So we now have Uranus in Taurus for the next 7 years. Before that, we have 7 years of Uranus in Aries. So you look at your natal houses. Where is Aries? Where is Taurus? Do you have any planets there? You know, 7 years is a long time. What Uranus is doing, he is breaking old patterns. So when he's visiting your house, any of the areas in your life, that's time for you to be prepared for unpredictable things, be more open to new ideas, new changes, changing the old structures, being more eccentric, trying new things, welcoming unpredictability, you know, new ideas, fresh ideas, starting something completely opposite of what you were doing before. You know, that's a sort of, he's very, it's difficult to explain Uranus because he's such an unpredictable planet. So he's always bringing something literally that you cannot predict. So if you think, okay, when Uranus comes, this could happen, and then something completely different happens. It's that
he's a rebel.
Yeah,
he's a rebel planet.
His archetype for that things in your life that are kind of shocking you, surprises. How are you handling that? How do you adapt to completely something new in your life?
Yeah. In the same time, though, it doesn't really sound like Taurus. And now when Uranus is in Taurus, how do they work together? Will the Uranus be surprising more in like, I don't know, more in the relaxed way?
Yeah, Taurus.
Or more in the stubborn way?
Taurus is a lot about tradition, you know, values and some old-fashioned things. So Taurus there, it could, well, I think this is already kind of happening, that society will really be forced to examine its values, because Taurus is primarily about values. So what do we consider valuable? And also beauty. Taurus is about beauty. So what do we consider beautiful? What is beautiful now? How are we addressing that? And then money, because Taurus is about money. I read a lot of articles by different astrologers, and they were all mentioning changes in currency, you know, like cryptocurrencies, online dealing with the payments and money and all of that. And we are leaving kind of the old-fashioned way of paying with you know, cash or checks or something like that.
That's absolutely great example of Uranus and Taurus connecting together. Money as a Taurus, but online as Uranus, something new, something fresh, something that is not that physical, but still it is a possession, or like, you know, something
so
that you.
It's literally a different, new way of dealing with money, which is Venus and Taurus thing. So old-fashioned people or traditional people, they could have problems with this. They don't want to, you know, switch on this new thing. They don't trust it, and
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And then we have Neptune, so he's a bit far as well.
Yeah, Neptune is a bit slower than Uranus, so he spends around 14 years in one sign. So people will not, well, I don't know that, but people will not really live long enough to get to the Neptune return, yeah, in the chart, or maybe they will, I don't know. But where Neptune is in when he's making transits through your house, so the kind of things that he's bringing are like spiritual things. So he's there to dissolve your ego. He's there to bring something something higher, some higher sort of philosophy or love or art. He's there to make you more compassionate, to make you. That's like a positive thing of Neptune. And then the negative thing can be that he's bringing a lot of confusion. He's making things unclear in this area. Yeah, this area of your life. There's like smoke. You don't see well. You can be fooled easily. You can have some sort of illusions, delusions. Simply, things are not clear. So where your is, he's making things very unclear. He's erasing dead borders. So you should, well, he's bringing more intuition, more dreams and things like that. But again, you have to have some sort of caution with Neptune, because he can make you believe something that is not really very realistic or real. Like for inspiration, he can be great for creativity, for doing something in arts or creating something.
And at the moment, he's ruling in Pisces.
Yeah, and he's in Pisces. And so, I think it's a really great example. I was thinking, if you notice this couple of last years, how movies are a lot about fairy tales. So all the fairy tales are being made into movies, or Disney cartoons. They're now Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and all of that. We have these movies because people want to see fairy tales. This is fashion now. It's what we want to see around us. It's what is nice, what is appealing to us, because Neptune is in Pisces, and Pisces are about fairy tales and arts and creativity, and people buy this. People seek it because that is what the fashion is now.
Yeah, that's a great example. So, do you know for how long he will stay in Pisces? Or
I have to check that.
Don't worry.
For a couple of years, he's in Pisces. I'm not sure about exact date when he will go to the Uranus. We can put it in the description after if you want exact date.
Yeah. Okay, we shall see. We will check later on, and I can even write it into the video like as a tiny line. So I will just make myself a note here, so not to forget about it. Okay, and let's get into our favorite, beloved, apart, far away, Pluto.
Yeah. So Pluto is the slowest one of all planets. It takes very long time for him to get through a sign, and it again, because these planets are retrograde, they can be retrograde. We don't have like a exact time how much they spent in a sign. It depends on their walk. Are they direct or retrograde at some point? So for Pluto, it can take from 12 to 25 years even spending in one sign. Now the Pluto is in Capricorn now. And he's going towards Aquarius. And when he's transiting the house, that is time for you to take control of the affairs of that house. So he's forcing you that. He's forcing you to find some sort of power in yourself, to take control in the area of your house. If there are any sort of problems, that you heal them. If there are any sort of demons, to exorcise them, to tear down anything that is not working for you in that area. So he's like some sort of bomb that you're dropping on that house. He will destroy everything that is not strong enough to stand. So you need to find power, you need to get control, you need to be able to let go. I know this sounds like oxymoron, you know, at the same time you have to find control, but you have to be able to let go. You have with Pluto, you need both of these things. Both of these things have to be learned with Pluto. So you apply it, you apply it to the area and affairs of the house that he is transiting.
Yeah, and he also like brings some kind of transformation, and transformation always like basically goes to your core, and then you can find new stuff inside yourself.
He's transforming everything that is inside of that house. So if you have any planets there, they will all be subjected to this treatment.
Okay, so just to make it like more clear, because the only kind of example that I asked about was what if Saturn, or when the Saturn triggers the Saturn, that it's like a big thing. So also when Pluto goes to the house where we have Venus, it will be the Pluto energy, the Pluto style affecting our Venus part of life, like our relationships. Do I get it right?
They will be completely transformed. They will be, in a sense, I don't want to say tortured, but they will be subjected to a Pluto kind of energy, and they will be definitely transformed. And when this happens, it is such a major thing. When it happens, you have to look at the Venus aspects in your natal chart, because the Pluto is in conjunction with Venus. He will also be making aspects to these other planets. So he will not only affect and transform Venus, but everything that planet means in your chart, all other connections, he will affect them as well. So it's never only one area of your life. When it's a major point, it's literally like a new chapter in a story, but it will tell you something about everything in your life.
Yeah. We always have to get to the whole chart in the end, because it affects us as a human being in the wholeness. So that's basically when I have a Venus here, and the Pluto comes here as well, and they trigger everything that is connected to the Venus. But what if the Venus is here maybe, and the Pluto might be in the same house? So when they are in the same house, they are affecting each other as well. But what if Pluto is here in this house and makes trine or makes square? What if the transiting planet makes aspect on my chart or on the chart?
It's also let's say a major triggering point. So he doesn't have to be in conjunction with some planets to make an aspect. He can be making an aspect in an empty house, but all the planets that he's touching with this aspect, all the planets that he's connecting, in some way, he will affect. So even if it's an empty house, if there is an aspect, it is considered that it is a major thing.
Then when we have trine, it's usually positive in relationships, and square is usually negative in relationships. For example,
we say like a harmonious. We say that it is either harmonious aspect or it's disharmonious. So yes, trine would bring different sort of things than a square, because square is about tension and trine is about flow. So it's two different sort of energies, but it is the Pluto. So even with the trine, he will bring some sort of change, transformation. They will be letting go. Maybe it will be easier for you. Maybe it will be easier for you to gain some power through that. With the square, it's the same theme, but different feel. So it will not be easy for you to do these things. It will be extremely challenging, maybe blocking, maybe completely tearing down something in your life. It will be different, but still it will be a big change and a big push and a big big like stress on you to make some change.
Okay. Planets that we wanted to go through and about transits. I believe that we said everything that we planned. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you in some of our videos. And bye.
Thank you. Bye.